All right, how's it going? How was your weekend? Anything exciting? What do you think about the Bears? Anybody who won some money because of the Bears game? Who lost some money? Okay. All right, yeah, the Bears are looking good. All right, Kate, who has any blurbs to share with us? Remember we said Mondays we would do this half of class, Wednesdays we would do this half of class. Anyone? Okay, 1, 2. Anyone else? Don't be shy. Please raise your hand. All right, so we'll just kind of go in order. Mix it in between lecture, keep it interesting. I do have like a little group assignment I'd like you to do involving TikTok, well, competition to TikTok today, so we'll discuss that. All right, we're gonna wrap up chapter 1, all right? Those of you who've already taken, who's taken marketing courses before, like contemporary, who's taken contemporary? Contemporary marketing. Who's taken marketing communications with me? Okay. All right, so you kind of have a base knowledge of what marketing is. Marketing is not advertising. Advertising is a facet of marketing. Marketing involves pretty much everything, every aspect of the business integrated into sales, promotion, including things like advertising, research, right? Anything involving customers from beginning to end, right? Process from beginning to end. We say here we're just integrating digital aspects, which we all kind of know. Right? We all kind of know in the modern sense what digital aspects of marketing involve. Maybe in some simple sense. We saw the history of search. We saw the history of social media. We saw the history also too of other kind of platforms integrating consumer process of how to make things convenient, such as Amazon. Right? Things evolve. We have program languages. We have softwares. Right? You have applications on your phone, which I told you are the most important aspect of Google Play, right? All Google sort of mobile devices, Apple, iOS, OS systems, right? Those are the most important components because they talk to one another. And before we didn't have applications and software that could talk to one another, communicate. So in essence, we say probably the most important part of digital marketing is using the digital space to communicate marketing efforts, just like any other relationship. How well do you communicate? How often do you communicate? Some of you probably want to be social media influencers, or probably are, with some TikTok profiles, IG profiles, and you're probably trying to promote some sort of brand or idea that you think is relevant to some sort of demographic for some reason. But the most important aspect is to communicate, which means you got a good concept. And if your favorite social media influencers come up with content every day, multiple times, sometimes it's like, oh, that was cool. Sometimes right? So the same kind of goes with marketing. How first do we get people to know that we exist, know the product exists? The internet has made things saturated. So it's hyper-competitive now. How do you stand out amongst a sea of other people doing the same exact thing that you're doing, maybe with a little bit of tweak, right? How do you do it? What kind of nifty kind of integration can you use with other software and other applications to make yourself relevant, make yourself useful, make yourself noticeable? Second, so you get people to be aware. Beyond that, you have to give them some sort of engagement. So we say the main thing driving, say, the digital marketing space now is engagement, which means people want to do something, right? In order for them to be involved and continue to be involved, you have to make them do something, right? Maybe kind of ask for permission, like, share, subscribe, opt into our email list, right? But you got to give some reason there, something interesting, be it a photo, a video, something that's going to stimulate the consumer. All right, beyond that, all right? So then you're trying to anticipate the needs as well too. All right, so first you say, hey, we got to use identification. What do people need and want? What do people need and want? For you, as college students, what are the main things that you need, that you What are your main needs? What motivates you to purchase? What motivates you to sort of have brand loyalty? What motivates you to go on certain websites, to engage? What is it? Yes?
Say the price matters a lot right now.
All right, number one, you say, hey, you know what, the number one thing for you is you don't have, I don't know your financial situation, but probably most of you don't have a lot of expendable income, right? Like, so price matters. You wish you could buy Balenciaga all the time. You can afford it once or twice, right? But for the most part, price, right? Because you don't have, you're just spending a lot of money here in college. What else? Yes.
The reputation.
Yeah, you like reputation. Guess what? Human beings are social animals. Everything you wear is symbolic. You may not be aware of it because it's unconscious behavior, but everything we do, you are advertising to me right now. Jersey, football jersey. Promoting something symbolic, meaningful, deep, important to you. Right? That's why you wear it. Right? Our CUC shirts over here. Right? All sorts of things. You want people to know where you go to school. You want to know people that you're an athlete. You want to have some sort of personal identification that gives you some sense of meaning and purpose. Right? Give somebody a sense of meaning and purpose, you can put them in. All right, what else? So we said price. We said things like the brand itself, right? Nike. You know, but think about this. We're first impression types of people. Whatever car you pull up with, people are going to have an impression, whether you have money or not. Right? Watch, shoes, clothes, you know, all sorts of jewelry, all sorts of things. Right? We're kind of making impressions. Anything else? What keeps you engaged on the platforms now? Like what kind of things keep you engaged before you decide to bounce off and go somewhere else? What keeps you engaged on the websites or the platforms? Anyone? All right, all my TikTokers and Snapchatters, what's keeping you engaged?
The concept.
Okay, what about content? Like what's interesting in the content now?
Personalized.
Right, it's personalized, right? Seems like it's just for you, right? Might be because of the last thing you actually searched and clicked on, and you're like, all right, I see your ranking system, the higher you're starting to get more to what I actually like, what I was looking for, right? So maybe personalization. All right, so things are layered upon layer. We say, hey, it's kind of interesting. We have to anticipate. That's difficult. How do you anticipate people's needs, right? Other things, we say, hey, what channel we should use to get to people. We'll talk about channel and medium, all those different things, right? To allocate. And then satisfy, right? Not only do we anticipate, we have to satisfy people with using e-marketing, right? Adequately, right? Which means like, get it quickly, make it super easy, right? Don't distract me too much, don't be exhausted. Send more things I'm gonna be interested in, right? Don't waste my time, et cetera, et cetera. So the classical thing we said with marketing is like, hey, we're trying to do activities that saves us money as a company, right? It's good to save money, we need to be efficient, but also have the maximum effectiveness in terms of awareness, engagement, retention, loyalty, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of say the same here, right? But we're just using digital platforms to do so. All right, we talked about it. And then the 5 S's, to go back. If we can remember these kind of throughout the term, then we could. First thing, we need the money, we need to sell, right? Number one thing is to sell. You can't make a profit, you're doomed, right? You can also have a high engagement, but don't make a lot of profit, right? You don't sell a lot. Maybe you like have an interesting website, it's very vivid, it seems to be engaging, but then you do the metrics. You're like, wow, 1 million people visit the site, but only 1,000 made a purchase for some reason, right? Like that's very poor metrics, right? When we look at conversion rates. Alright, we gotta serve, we gotta add value. Remember we said value is the trickiest thing. It's like this abstract concept. It's like what's important to each and every person. Well, we do know that people are broken up into groups of similarities, alright? How they purchase, what they're interested in, what age demographic, ethnicity, all sorts of things that we could look at. And we can kind of delineate what kind of value to promote to an individual. Alright, here's some sort of typical examples of objectives to serve or add value, right? Alright, we say, hey, we can increase interaction with different content on different sites. Here, increase the number of customers actively using online services at least once per month to 30%, right? So in essence, we're just kind of increasing the amount of times people will visit the site, right? We know that we're adding some sort of value because they're engaging with us. Speak, right? We'll talk more about the communication component. Two-way communication, right? Which means we just can't send information out there and just have expectations that people are thinking a certain way. Like, no, we're gonna have something for feedback. Maybe you see where they put 5 stars, rate us 5 stars, right? Maybe you see like, hey, how do we do? Thumbs up or thumbs down on the screen, right? Any additional feedback, comment, right? All sorts of things. Kind of good to have a thumbs down. You know, YouTube, I think they eliminated the thumbs down portion, but it's still there. It's just kind of hidden, right? So you can see how many people dislike the page behind the scenes. The content creator can see it, but maybe the audience up front may not be able to see it because we kind of want more positivity, right? Google kind of found that, hey, having the negativity of a website doesn't do very well. Actually harms the business a lot more than you would think, right? So positivity matters, but maybe negative feedback is kind of hidden, but we can see it, right? What people don't like, so we can make our tweaks. Then we have to save money, right? So we have to do it in some way that we're not just wasting money, right? Example, generate 10% more sales for same communications budget. Right? So like, hey, same budget as last time, but increase sales. What kind of creative measures could you do that, right? The same amount of money. Right? Looking at trends and so forth. All right, and then the last S, right? We say sizzle, extend the brand online, achieve through providing new propositions, new offers, new experiences, constantly creating new, right? We have to have new ideas, same stuff. So it's gonna be just layering on the base, same exact device, iPhone, right? Same exact interface, applications, right? Same thing, small tweaks, add more widgets. I don't need to go inside the whole app. Just give me what the weather is like today in Chicago. I don't need to go into the weather. Make it simple, right? Change the interface a little bit. Do something to where it can make it quicker, faster, because we say attention spans are dwindling. So we can do things to improve the experience, and then we can use metrics, right? Brand awareness, brand reach, how many people we reach, favorability, purchasing intent. We could have even more surveys on the site as well too to get the information. All right, applications, right? We say, hey, we need a medium to advertise, a direct response medium. We need platform for transactions. See, like all these things are multi-layered, right? You can have a cool web page, blog, but then you might expand and say, I actually want to sell some merch. What application or software will I use on this page in order to sell the merchandise, right? So we need something for sales transactions. And then we say, all right, this is good, okay, we could sell it, but then we need lead generation methods. How do I reach an audience that I think likes the type of stuff that I'm selling, right? That I'm promoting. How do I do that? How do I reach more people to come check it out so that I can sell more things? All right, next, beyond that, distribution channel, right? You can sell things, but then you have to give it to people. And if you give it to them and it takes too long, they're not gonna come back and buy. It's like, well, it takes too long, somebody else sells it quicker, right? We're still competing with distribution systems. So what is your distribution channel? Can you make it quicker? Because think about this, you may sell some of your merch, let's say for some of you who like, you know, the online content creation space, and you know, you got your favorite influencers, people who follow on podcasts. Everybody's on podcasts selling merch, right? Like everybody's selling. What's merch? Coffee mug, a hoodie, a hat, right? Something, a little banner or something, some stickers to put on your laptop. Kind of typical items you can see people, selling as merchandise, right? But the thing is, if it takes, like, everybody's selling merch. So are you doing it in a fashion where it's really just being distributed, maybe Amazon? That would probably be cool. People get it quick, fast, and like that experience and buy more merch. Or did you use some other platform or distributor from overseas and it took the person 3 weeks? And now you got a backlog, right? And you like, here the controversy. We're gonna get in new merchandise for the hoodies in 3 weeks, or just wait for them. Nobody wants to wait. By the time, I forgot about it. Forgot about it tomorrow. Right? So like, it has to be extremely consistent, in order to keep people coming back. Not the merchandise becomes pointless because your inventory sucks and your distribution channel sucks. Next, customer service mechanism, right? It's depending on how large you are you able to afford customer service? Customer service, like you outsource to a third-party company to handle issues, and then you're gonna have a whole subset of people that take returns, exchanges, ship it back out. What do you do to return packages? Do you just write them off the taxes? Like, you gotta have a whole kind of plan there too, right? Well, not as simple. And a relationship building meeting. This is why, for those of you, I know a lot of you talk about like fashion, right? And, you know, big lover of fashion, right? Ralph Lauren, we have some Ralph Lauren fans, maybe some, hope we don't have any Yeezy fans, right? But I got some Balenciaga people, right? But like, hey, ultimately, what makes them successful versus just your run-of-the-mill, like, brands, right? Run-of-the-mill brands. Right? They have this intact. Right? So you're like, hey, a big Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren, even like a Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, this is intact. Right? You're gonna get the product either A, you can go pick it up at the store today, right? You order it online. B, we can ship it to you tomorrow, if you want FedEx it, right? We have things in place, right? We can also get you maybe more merchandise. We're out of the inventory, but we can get it to you, a couple days. Right? Customer service, you can call the 1-800 number. You have an issue, it didn't show up. It seems terrible. What do I do? Ship it back. We'll send you a return slip and get it back to you quick. Right? And then we got the relationship building team. No, the best, I would say Ralph Lauren is the best to me. In the sense, it's not, I wouldn't, they have Purple Label, they have Ralph Lauren Polo, they have Double RL, right, which is kind of your Western outdoorsy kind of brand. But go down to the Ralph Lauren Mansion, downtown Chicago Avenue, Michigan Avenue in Chicago, right? Like, hey, Ralph Lauren has a coffee shop, Ralph's Coffee. Ralph Lauren has a restaurant at the Polo Mansion. And it's a phenomenon, maybe one of the best restaurants in Chicago by far. Right? Ralph Lauren sells an experience. You could physically go there and experience it. You could spend hours in the store. Just looking around. Ralph Lauren has a home thing up on the 4th floor, right? They're like, hey, Ralph Lauren has built selling an experience, not selling clothing per se. You're selling something beyond clothing, which is really just an idea of beauty, aesthetics, things of that nature, right? So they went above and beyond to do these things. What they do also is set up pop-up shops, for different kind of holiday seasons, what have you. Right? So they expand their brand to create a lifestyle, right? So the lifestyle, I would say, kind of a experience altogether. Right? And that's what sets them apart just from someone who's selling t-shirts and hoodies, right? Just sell clothes. Beyond that, you don't give me an experience, right? It takes a lot more. All right, okay, and then we say we have things consumer to consumer, right? eBay, peer-to-peer, Skype number that they doubt if anyone uses it, Zoom. Customer business, Priceline. Priceline sells things to businesses like buckets and mops and things you can see here being used by employees. Then we have customer to government, feedback to government through pressure group or individual sites, right? So you're like, hey, I can go on the whitehouse.gov, I feedback to government, not businesses and non-governmental organizations, right? Because we have, business, government to business, right? Like, hey, government to business, the main employer in the United States is the federal government. The main employer pretty much of every country is their federal government. So like, there's a lot of money being made, a lot of marketing, a lot of sales, HR, all sorts of things, right? So the government has trillions of dollars through tax revenue, and they need to use companies in order to facilitate creating things, military things, things for interstate highway systems, et cetera, right? So big business, they need supplies, paper, pencils, presentations, travel, right? All sorts of things, involved with all sorts of things, right? Using airlines, buildings, right? Lights, chairs, all sorts of things, it's huge, right? So like, hey, we can sell to anyone, right? So we say transactional alternatives between business, consumers, and governmental organizations. Right? So we're just kind of showing like, hey, how can this all happen between the different ones, between consumers, businesses, and government, right? I say business to consumer, Unilever sells to consumers, business to business. These companies here, which you're probably familiar with. All right, and then e-business and e-commerce. We say, hey, commerce is about selling, it's transaction. But business is about operating a business. So if you can't operate a business well altogether, you're gonna probably have very poor commerce. Because all you're interested in is transactions and sales. And it involves a lot more than that, right? I just said all the different parts that have to go into it in order to run a business as opposed to just commerce. All right, so we said we need a managing strategy for these, right? We need to set up objectives. Sometimes it's unclear for responsibilities for, say, digital, because if you think about this, like if you're running a digital platform of some kind, are you doing it remotely with your employees? Difficult for all of them to somewhat communicate. Do you have a headquarters and everyone works in the same space? Probably a little bit more traditional, easier to communicate in some way. But sometimes people are unclear for the responsibilities when it's like purely a digital space. So we need to set objectives. Issues may be challenges of a lack of budget. Don't have enough money to do what you need to do to be effective. Budget wasted through experiments or duplication. Sometimes we're too experimental. Like, oh, let me just try this. Well, how much it's gonna cost to try that? And now you've kind of wasted a lot of money through experimentation. Sometimes you just have to come together and have a very concrete plan. And then have a budget aligned with it and just push it out, right? All right, another issue, challenge, developing new propositions and campaigns to compete. We're constantly competing. Our competitors probably coming out with more interesting stuff than us. So like, do we just copy them? How much does it cost to replicate or copy exactly what they're doing? If we copy, people notice. We might copy too much and get copyright infringement, right? Can't be using the same kind of approach and words. McDonald's and Burger King, Taco Bell all compete. They do the same exact thing, right? The value meal, et cetera, but different language, like different approach, different kind of techniques, right? Challenge it, right? Because you're trying to keep up. Like, hey, our competitor came out with this and now they're killing it. They took market share, extra 10% away from us. What do we do, right? Do we have enough money to even catch up? And then just a lack of measurement, no plan. The worst thing in business is to not have a plan, right? Not have a definitive plan, right? Which means you can't be too abstract all of the time. So what is needed for these strategies? Hey, set things, clear goals for digital channels, right? Hey, which way we're gonna go to create the website, right? What platform we're gonna use? Next, create a specific online value proposition. Remember, say, hey, what business is McDonald's in? McDonald's? Fast food. right? But what is the main driver for people to constantly run an account?
Costs.
Costs?
I guess we could say that it's reliability, because you're pretty much gonna get the same thing and hopefully it's not the same all the way you go.
Yeah, you're like a little bit of all of that. You say McDonald's is convenient, find it within 1.5 mile radius, right? Most stores, I believe, on the planet. 40-some thousand stores. So, like, hey, I can always find one. The food always tastes the same, unless it's, you know, some cold batch of fries or something. The price, competitive. Right? You only got $6 to spare. You can get you a decent something at McDonald's. Right? And speed. Like, I want it quick. I'm hungry. I want it now. Matter of fact, I just want to get in the car real quick. I'm hungry. Right? So you're like, hey, that's the business is in. Maybe those 4 things, and they're like, that's it. If we could focus on those 4 things, not deviate and try to do experiment, all this kind of crazy stuff that others are doing, we're like, it will be keep being successful, right? Keep the main on value proposition. We're saying here, you know, just do it in a digital kind of space. Integrate digital and traditional channels, right? We say the traditional methods work to a degree, right? Because we're in different spaces all the time. Sometimes we're in the store, walking around, we're not on our phone, we're still being communicated some marketing or something. Are we driving, we're not on our phone, we're still being communicated some marketing, right? You have to integrate a little bit of both, which means you can't put all your money, all your budget into digital space. You have to do a little bit of both. A little bit of traditional marketing mixed in with digital for my target demographic. So I need to know my target demographic. Where do they walk usually when they commute to work? Where do they drive? Where do they hang out on Fridays and Saturdays? What do they usually watch around this time of night, this time of day? Right? I gotta show up wherever I believe that they're going to be. All right, align with business, with the business strategy, and, right, and avoid ad hoc approaches. Right? So we say, hey, we have to have a strategy with the business and kind of align all of these things with that. Right? And then specify communication tools to drive visitors and manage your customer life cycle. We say customer life cycle is beginning to where I first got you to notice me, to the point to where your brand loyalty is there and you speak highly of me, right? That's the customer life cycle, right? Yes?
What's ad hoc approach?
Ad hoc would mean kind of, for like for a specific cause, really, right? Like kind of for a specific cause, right? So you're like, hey, for a specific cause, we kind of like with business strategy, we kind of have to imbue all the different aspects: human resources, marketing, management, finance, accounting, right? And so we can't say like avoid ad hoc would be like just focus primarily on like getting as many people. We're like, well, that may not work within our budget, which is the finance company, and it may not work with the amount of people that we could serve if they come to the website and want, we may not have. So it has to work with everything, right? So avoiding ad hoc would be like, let's just focus on one particular thing, like, okay, but you gotta have people to sort of supply, right, what people are looking for. You gotta have the money for the budget to do that, and it has to make sense in other ways. Right? So yeah, ad hoc is Latin for, you know, for cause or something like that, but more really it means kind of for specific reason. Right? Here, so we say, hey, you know what? Management customer life cycle, right? So how do we do it? It's like, all right, well, think about this. If you go and you're like, I'm gonna start an online Instagram or TikTok shop, right? And then I'm them, say, well, okay, are you still sending them email marketing to them? Because they check their emails, and when they open up their email, it probably say something involving TikTok Shop and your online platform. Are you also doing that through? Right, that's an example given here. Like, you gotta catch your audience in other spaces, because they're gonna open up other applications on their phone. Right? Your TikTok Shop connected to Instagram, connected to IG, is also connected to YouTube, is it gonna pop up in some way, right? So you're like, hey, it has to keep doing it so that finally the person's like, all right, I like you, right? I follow you, I follow this brand, I like what they do, I speak highly of them, and I'll come back and keep purchasing. Right, because at that point it becomes automatic. You become a loyalist, and what you'll do is you'll kind of wait for that brand that you really like to you'll wait for next drop. Right? You're like, man, there's some other shoes out there. Right, there's other shoes. I can go buy any other shoes. You're like, I'm gonna wait for my brand to come out with the next drop. It doesn't come out for 3 months. You're like, wow, you're gonna wait and not buy nothing? Yeah, I like the brand. Right? And that's how you know when you finally really have a best one. Same kind of goes with cars. Anyone here loyal to a specific car brand? And could you tell me why? What's the brand and why are you loyal?
I'm loyal to Chevy just because I did my research. I didn't buy my first car for an entire year because I was doing research on that.
Mm-hmm.
And every person that I talked to within my family, because they're kind of like car people, they said Chevy's really good and really reliable. So that's kind of why I got it.
Gotcha. Yeah, Chevy, I haven't really kept up with Chevy like in the last, 10 years, but Chevy used to be primarily the Honda and Toyota of the United States, right? An American-made car that had the reliability of Honda and Toyota, meaning they have 200,000 miles on the car, but not be an unusual thing at all. Right? You can go on Facebook Marketplace and look up Hondas and Toyotas. A lot of them, if they're used, 186,000 miles, 170,000 miles, and they're still a little bit pricey, right? And people still really want to buy them. Like, I don't care if it got 170,000 miles, it might last 350,000 miles, right? But your other kind of brands of cars are like, whoa, 70,000 miles is a lot, because you know that car is not going to last that long, and what it costs to repair those cars are extremely expensive. Right? Yes.
Mine's gonna be Toyota. I mean, at least designs, they look nice. And my first vehicle was a 2001 Toyota Sequoia. And it's a big car. When I got it, it had 210,000 miles. I was able to take an extra 20,000, and that's when it's like, it had to go. And I was like, this is good. Like, and then we got a new Toyota 2010 Sequoia. It's nice. It had 190, but that thing probably lasts at least 300,000.
Okay. Yeah, same with Toyota, big bang for your buck, right? Spacious, you got all the things you would need, not the extra gimmicks that are being charged extra $20,000 for that you'll never really use in the car, right? So like Toyota is good because you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Different overlapping forms of web presence, give an example of each. Here we say transactional e-commerce sites, examples, Amazon, Dell, service-oriented, Accenture. Accenture is a consulting company here in the U.S., one of the largest ones, but really around the world, to be honest. And then branding building sites. You're like, we don't really go online to buy Pepsi and Guinness, but they use a website to build the brand, right? New commercials and things like that, right? But you go into the stores to buy Pepsi and Guinness, so you can just have just to build a brand, right? More notoriety. Portal media, a lot of people still use Yahoo for like Yahoo News primarily, and then social media, of course, all the ones that we care about. All right, so how we define the online opportunity and the strategic approach in delivering results, right? First, we gotta comb, right? We gotta say, hey, what is the opportunity that we are looking for? So we have our objectives. What are we trying to do? Right? First, we have a set of e-marketing objectives, right? One, we can evaluate e-marketing performance or assess online marketplace. Like, hey, what marketplace online is the best to go into in terms of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to sell? From there, right? From there we go, we have a strategy for marketing. We define customer value proposition, right? What do people want and what do they need and how do we give them something of the sort? Right? Next we say define communications mix. We need to meet them and communicate the marketing messages in different ways, different channels and mediums. Right? We need to implement the plan. Right? So implement customer experience. Is it a good experience or a bad experience? Right? You get feedback from there. And then you say, hey, execute those communications. Send out the advertisements in different spaces. All right, and then measure, profile, and improve. All sorts of things, right? So I think you're gonna give an example of, you think of things like bounce rate, right? You're like, all right, let's say you have a website, right? Multiple pages, different things you could click on to view what it is you're interested in. But then you go and look at some of the metrics and you're like, oh man, people bounce off the first page in like 4 seconds, right? Which means maybe there's really nothing interesting on the home page. People go away, right? Or people stay on the home page for about 7 seconds, then they go and click somewhere else. Right, that's good, okay, that's engagement, right? But beyond that, they leave in about 30 seconds. Like, oh, we gotta improve that, right? We want people to stick around and look all over the entire website, right? To make everything interesting so that we can sell more things. So I have things like bounce rate, right? And other kind of key performance indicators that we can use to measure. But it depends. You're like, well, how many pages do you have on your site? I just have one. In that case, you're like, well, bounce rate is not that important unless we see, because you only got one page. All right, let's do this. Oh, who got our first blurb? Do me a favor, email them to me really quick. Or not, you know what, not, because I notice it always messes up. You can just attach your laptop when you come up here. So who has something to share here? Anyone of them? Yeah, can I come up here? HDMI? I'll let somebody else. Shoot me an email. Yeah, something.
Anyway, it's just a screenshot. It's fine. I just put it in one side and then the right side, just put like 3 pages.
So for mine, Dr. Ross mentioned the Bears game over the weekend. Scrolling through like TikTok and Instagram, all like the sports accounts, talking about like Kalshi, Polymark, about how the Packers should have won. The Bears had a 4% chance winning on Kalshi, and how Polymark, there's a popular TikTok account that I follow in the NFL, and he always Instagram promotes Polymark on certain topics regarding the NFL. So just now that the playoffs are starting, I'm getting more and more of like Kalshi ads for the NFL and more of his content regarding Polymark. So I'm just seeing more of like these prediction apps where you can kind of put a little money down to say the Bears will make the Super Bowl this year, or the 49ers will beat the Eagles. So So it's just becoming more and more popular for these prediction apps to start popping up more.
Okay, and so like the prediction apps, do they compete with, say, DraftKings and like the online kind of betting platforms? Or they're kind of simply geared toward making you more successful in your bets?
They're kind of more of their own independent. They're not more of like, oh, like the DraftKings Sportsbook. They're kind of more of like, okay, they take the data from the games and they say which team is more likely to win, and you're able to say, oh, I predict X, Y, Z to be ABC because the data is more shown to them compared to DraftKings where they set
Over, under?
a specific parameter. It's like, okay, are they going to get more than 13 or less than 13?
Yeah. Okay. All right, excellent. Great job. Thank you for that. Anyone use any of these? Anyone's heard any of these? Those are good. I think, oh, you have? Have you used them?
I don't use it.
Okay. Those are interesting, prediction apps. I wanted the success rate, like, you know, whatever they're extracting, that like metadata they're getting, right? As opposed to say DraftKings, where we have like an over, under, right? Based on like, Vegas kind of like.
Cause I know we use a lot like live odds and like the sports books.
Yeah.
So it fluctuates, but
There's always, it always changes.
always changes.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Anyone over here? This actually, yes. Email it to me and I'll bring it up towards the end, so you could have a seat and we'll just.
Okay, so a general marketing trend I noticed is that social media is kind of becoming more like a search engine. I think this kind of ties into AI and also just the short attention span of society. A little bit, I kind of just Google searched it myself on TikTok. I would search like how to cut your hair at home, and you have like, or this is actually